October 28th, 2008. The global financial system is already on its knees. Lehman Brothers collapsed 6 weeks ago. People are losing their homes, their savings, their jobs. On this particular Tuesday morning, the German stock exchange opens like any other day. Traders are nervous. Everyone is nervous. The world is burning. And then, Volkswagen stock does this in a single day. Volkswagen, a car company, briefly became the most valuable company on planet Earth. More valuable than ExxonMobil, more valuable than General Electric, more valuable than every company in Germany.
Perfectly normal. Totally fine. I'm lying.
Hedge funds lost $30 billion. In one day, some of the most powerful financial institutions in the world were completely destroyed. And behind all of this was a car company that made the Beetle. But here's the thing. This wasn't Volkswagen's doing. This was Porsche. Little boutique sports car Porsche. The company that at the time had fewer employees than some high schools. And what they pulled off was either the most brilliant financial maneuver in corporate history or the most catastrophic act of self-destruction any company has ever committed. Possibly both. Definitely both. Today we're going to talk about how a family feud, a genius engineer, decades of pride, and one absolutely unhinged financial gamble broke the stock market for 24 hours, and then destroyed the people who caused it. To understand any of this, I need to tell you about two families. Because this whole story, the Beetle, Volkswagen, Porsche, the stock market crash, all of it traces back to a family dinner that went very, very wrong. On one side, the Porsches. Ferdinand Porsche, an Austrian engineer who was, by any measure, an absolute genius. The kind of man who, when given an impossible task, doesn't say, "it can't be done." He says, "give me 6 months." Ferdinand designed racing cars, electric vehicles, military vehicles. He even designed tanks. The man could engineer anything. And in the 1930s, a certain someone with a very bad mustache noticed.
Adolf Hitler wanted a people's car. This is where the story gets complicated.
Hitler had an obsession with Henry Ford. Ford had created the Model T, the first truly mass-market car. Affordable, reliable, a car for the people. Hitler wanted the same thing for Germany. He called it the Volkswagen, the people's car, and he commissioned Ferdinand Porsche to build it. The spec sheet was simple and completely insane at the same time. The car had to carry 2 adults and 3 children. It had to cruise at 100 kilometers per hour on the new Autobahn, and it had to cost, in today's money, roughly $4,000. Ferdinand delivered. The Beetle was a genuine masterpiece. Rear engine, air-cooled, aerodynamic body, produced from 1938 all the way to 2003. 21.5 million units, the most produced single car design in history. But here's the dark part. 350,000 German families paid into a savings scheme to eventually own one of these cars. 5 Reichsmarks a week, every week. Miss a single payment, you lose everything. None of them ever got their car. The factory was converted to build military vehicles. The money went to the war effort, and most of those families didn't survive the war to even complain about it.
So to summarize, the company was founded on fraud. It gets worse.
After the war, the factory was a ruin. The British took control of it, and in what historians now call one of the dumbest business decisions ever made, they offered it to every major car manufacturer in the world. Ford, General Motors, everyone. Every single one of them said no. The Ford representative said the factory wasn't worth a damn. That factory is now the largest automaker on Earth. Annual revenue over $300 billion. You're welcome, Henry. Now, back to the family. Ferdinand Porsche had a daughter, Louise. Louise married a man named Anton Piech, and together they had a son named Ferdinand Piech. Remember this name, because this man, more than anyone else, is responsible for everything that follows. Piech was also an engineer, also a genius. He joined Porsche in the 1960s, and he immediately started causing problems. He was brilliant ambitious, and absolutely impossible to work with. The other Porsche family members eventually forced him out. His own family kicked him out of his own grandfather's company.
Imagine being so difficult that your own family fires you. Imagine. Actually, don't imagine, just watch what happens next.
Piëch didn't go quietly. He went to Audi. Then he climbed. Fast. By 1993, Ferdinand Piëch was the CEO of Volkswagen Group. The man his own family had kicked out of Porsche was now running the company 10 times its size. And here's where the family feud gets really interesting. Because Piëch, from his throne at Volkswagen, began buying up companies. Lamborghini, Bentley, Bugatti, Skoda, Seat. Audi was already in the group. He was building an empire. And all the while, the Porsche family, his cousins, his aunts, his uncles, were watching from Stuttgart, running their little sports car company, making beautiful, expensive, highly profitable cars, and quietly simmering. In 2002, Ferdinand Piëch retired from VW, but he didn't go away. He joined the supervisory board, the body that oversees the CEO. He was still there, watching, controlling. In 2005, Porsche did something unexpected. They bought 5% of Volkswagen stock. The official reason? Strategic partnership, mutual benefit, business synergy. Standard corporate language that means absolutely nothing. The real reason? The Porsche family was terrified that Volkswagen might try to absorb them. So they decided to do something about it.
Porsche has plan, buy enough of VW to control it. The budget for this plan, approximately all the money.
Wendelin Wiedeking was the CEO of Porsche at the time. He was extraordinarily good at his job. Under his leadership, Porsche had become the most profitable car company per vehicle in the world. Not the biggest, the most profitable. Every single Porsche sold made more money than any comparable car from any other manufacturer. Wiedeking and his CFO, Holger Harter, had a plan so audacious that when you hear it, you'll understand why it almost worked, and why it absolutely destroyed them. The plan was to use financial derivatives, specifically options, to secretly accumulate a controlling stake in Volkswagen, without anyone knowing. Here's how options work, very simply. Instead of buying a share directly, which costs real money and shows up in public records, you buy the right to buy that share at a future date, at today's price. This costs much less, and crucially, you don't have to report it the same way. Porsche spent years, quietly accumulating options on VW shares. By October 2008, they held options on 31.5% of Volkswagen. Combined with the shares they openly owned, 42.6%, Porsche controlled or had the right to buy over 74% of Volkswagen. Volkswagen had roughly 1,000 shares publicly available to trade, meaning the free float, the shares anyone could actually buy on the open market, was less than 6%. And here's where the hedge funds come in. Because while Porsche was quietly buying everything, a large number of very smart, very well-paid hedge fund managers decided that Volkswagen stock was overvalued. So they shorted it, which means they borrowed VW shares, sold them, and planned to buy them back cheaper later, pocketing the difference. Standard practice, smart bet, logical. Except
They had no idea that Porsche owned 74%. Carry on.
Sunday, October 26, 2008. Porsche releases a statement. In it, they casually mention, as if it were a footnote, as if it were nothing, that they control 74.1% of Volkswagen and intend to increase that to 75%. The hedge funds read this and realized they had shorted a stock that barely existed on the open market because one company owned almost all of it, and that company had no intention of selling. This is called a short squeeze, And what happened next was the most extreme short squeeze in stock market history. Monday morning, markets open. The hedge funds scramble to buy VW shares to close their positions, but there are almost no shares to buy. So the price goes up, and up, and up. At its peak, Volkswagen stock hit 1,005 euros per share, up from 200 euros just days before. A 400% increase in hours. For approximately 1 hour on October 28, 2008, Volkswagen was the most valuable company on Earth, worth more than 400 billion euros. The hedge funds lost, in aggregate, $30 billion in one day. Some funds were completely wiped out. Some of the most sophisticated financial minds in the world, managing billions in capital, destroyed in a single trading session.
$30 billion! Gone! Because nobody read the footnote.
Here's where the story gets genuinely dark, because Porsche won, completely and totally, and then immediately began to lose. The problem was debt. Porsche had borrowed enormous sums to fund this operation. We're talking about 10-12 billion euros in debt, for a company whose annual revenue was around 7 billion. And the global financial crisis, remember, this is October 2008, meant that credit markets were frozen. Banks weren't lending. Refinancing was nearly impossible. Porsche had spent so much energy trying to swallow Volkswagen that they hadn't noticed they were choking.
You know that saying, be careful what you wish for? Exhibit A.
By 2009, Porsche was in serious trouble. The very company they had tried to absorb, Volkswagen, began negotiating to acquire Porsche. Wendelin Wiedeking, the CEO who had orchestrated the entire scheme, was forced to resign. He left with a severance package of approximately 50 million euros, which, given the circumstances, feels like the universe having a sense of humor. In 2012, the merger was complete. Porsche SE became a holding company. Volkswagen Group acquired Porsche AG. The family that had tried to swallow the giant became part of the giant. And in a twist so perfect it should be in a film, Porsche SE, the holding company, now owns over 50% of Volkswagen Group. So the family controls the group, but through the group, not by owning the car company that bears their name. It's the most expensive and complicated way in history to end up roughly where you started. So what do we take from all of this? A family feud spanning 3 generations, a genius engineer who built the most popular car in history and stole the idea, a government that promised its citizens a car and sent them to war instead, a company that the entire automotive world dismissed as worthless and that became the most valuable company on Earth for 60 minutes, and a corporate takeover so aggressive it destroyed the people who launched it. The Volkswagen story isn't really about cars. It's about what happens when ambition has no off switch. Porsche didn't want to survive. They wanted to win. And they did. For about a day. The factory that Ford said wasn't worth a damn now employs over 600,000 people worldwide. The car designed to serve Nazi propaganda became a symbol of the counterculture movement of the 1960s. The company built on fraud and family drama is the largest automaker on the planet. History, as it turns out, doesn't care about your intentions, only your outcomes.
$30 billion lost. 1 hour of being the world's most valuable company. 60 years of history reduced to a corporate org chart. And the Beetle? Still the coolest car ever made. Don't at me.
If you made it this far, thank you. There are 12 other stories exactly like this one. Companies built on lies, accidents, and spectacularly bad decisions that somehow became empires. Subscribe if you want to hear them. I'll see you in the next one.